Hello and welcome to yet another live. I am doing these. I feel like this is my sixth one in a row, and they're donation based. So I'm doing mini readings. Suggested donation is, it's basically pay what you can, but suggested donation, I'd say maybe like $20. And the goal here is to offer readings to people who cannot afford full-sized readings. But if you ever want a one-on-one consultation with me, you can definitely pick one up on my website, anastasiadoesastrology.com. Julia, I see you. Are you here? And I did get your donation, so it's kind of great that you're already sending me your information, because that would have been my first question. As far as the donations, I am going to put information. I do ask that you send the donation via one of my links instead of doing the YouTube payment, because the YouTube payment goes through YouTube. There are like fees involved to that, versus the links that are in the description are my links. So it's better. Okay, let me see. I am going to, this doesn't look super great. Hi, Aditi. Hi, Monica. I saw you. How does this doesn't look so good? This message looks weird. Hold on a second. I want to send just bring the information for the donations. And if any of you have already sent the donation in the past and I haven't gotten to you, please let me know, because if you have done it, you're definitely on my list and I will prioritize you. Okay. Monica, Julia, are you here? But Monica, I already have your chart pulled up, so I can definitely take a look at you. I feel like we started with you, Monica. I think you were the first person that I ever looked at. So it's almost like a ritual at this point to begin the reading with Monica's chart. Okay. By the way, I really appreciate the fact that you are, asking me questions. It's always fun. Okay. So let me share my screen. Yeah, you're saying you were the first one. These are donation-based. Pay what you can at the link in the description, or there's a link in the pinned comment. So it could be, it could be whatever you can afford and however generous you feel. So that's what I ask of you guys. How are you doing? How are your, are you enjoying the rest of it's the final day of the Taurus season. Are you guys having a good time? How is Taurus season treating you? Okay, I am going to share mine. Let's see if it is all working. I hope you're doing well. I hope Taurus season is going well. Julia is saying doing well, resting from a hospital visit. That sounds serious. I hope the hospital visit wasn't anything scary. Monica is saying been homesick today, but glad summer is almost here. That is exciting for sure. And sorry you're sick also. Hopefully it feels better. Julia saying gallbladder removal. I don't know enough about gallbladder. Is it like, did it get inflamed? Why did you have to have yours removed? Okay, so let me just see that we have the right chart for Monica. Your question was about... So Monica's question, let me just adjust the chart to see whether it's working or not. The tab is using extra resources. My computer is giving me some weird message. Hopefully everything is fine. Usually gallbladder removal is for stones, but can be inflammation and other factors. Thank you for saying that, because I don't know much about gallbladder. Gogo Pogo says Anastasia is one of the best astrologers in USA. That is really sweet of you to say that. I appreciate that. Okay, Julia says gallbladder regulates bile, can live without it. Mine had stones, so it was necessary. Okay, and Monica also says she had hers removed years ago. Also stones, Monica? That's so crazy that we can get like stones all over. Like there's obviously kidney stones and then there's gallbladder stones. Okay, Monica. So your question was, you're wondering what was happening astrologically from the summer of 2020 into approximately winter 2021. You're saying you feel like that was one of the best times in your life, health-wise, great shape, and lost a lot of weight. Spiritually, grew a lot. Career was going fantastic. It just felt like it was a big level up time in general. So I'd like to know what astrologically was working for me at that time with those aspects, since I'd like to return to that again with being in great shape, since I've gained not all of the weight back in with my career. Okay. So I did change the chart, but I feel like it's still showing the present day transit. So if you can't see it, hopefully it still makes sense with me kind of talking you through it. So first of all, 2020, you would have been 40, right? So 40 is the year of the fifth house. So fifth house in your chart is Pisces. It's ruled by Jupiter in the 11th house. So kind of makes me wonder, what about 28? So 28 would have been 2008, right? Do you remember 2008 being a good year for you too, Monica? Or was it more of was it definitely like 2020? There is something else that's going on. This is this third chart, if you can tell in the top right corner, there's your progress chart for that time. So I think there is a different reason why it was a really great time for you. But so that was okay. So that was the year of the fifth house ruled by Jupiter. Jupiter at the time was in Capricorn. So it was traveling through your third house. Can you guys see my cursor at all? Is it showing up or no? Mandy, I do see your Venmo. I'm going to add you to my list. Thank you so much. Let me see if I can actually do it without breaking from the screen. And Monica, I'll be with you in a second. Okay, I may need to switch between screens. So I'm just going to put Mandy on the list. Mandy. Okay, so you're saying 2008 was definitely similar with great shape and health aspects. Julia says no cursor. Yeah, that's weird. I feel like it's something about it is, it's like acting out today. Let me stop sharing for a second and restart to see maybe it updates. And you can see what I'm seeing, because right now it's definitely not showing you what I'm seeing. It's showing you the other chart. Okay, so I think now you should be seeing a cursor, right? Let me know, ladies, if you can see a cursor, and gentlemen. Okay, so a couple of things, right? 2020 and 2008, you are in the fifth house year, which is the year of romance, pleasure, good times, creativity. It is ruled by Jupiter, which your natal Jupiter is in Virgo. And I think Jupiter in Virgo tends to really appreciate growth through service to other people. So when you're saying work was really sort of lovely at the time, the fact that you were in the Jupiter ruled year, and Jupiter was, here it was in Capricorn throughout most of 2022, which also means it was forming a grand Earth trine with your chart, because you have the sun in Taurus, you have Jupiter and Saturn in Virgo. So Jupiter, Saturn in Capricorn, they were kind of, I think they were adding structure to your natal Jupiter, if anything. So that is something that maybe is worth exploring and leaning into, right? Like sort of working with Jupiterian or Saturnian energy with like adding structure into your life. Saturday is the day of Saturn. So committing to like doing some kind of healthy ritual every Saturday and maybe starting with that could be useful. Another what else is pretty interesting to me is your progress chart. So in the progress chart specifically for 2020, progress chart is a timing chart that takes your natal chart and moves it one day at a time for each year of your life. So right at that point, the progressed moon was in Taurus, right? So your sun is in Taurus and the moon was in Taurus by progression. And the moon in Taurus is another one of those like earthy, steady, stable energy. So I think it was activating your sun. This is a more rare configuration. We get progressed moon in Taurus once every like 28, 29 years. So that's not something that's going to come back around really soon. But I do think sort of exploring this energy of earth and stability and maybe thinking sort of, thinking of it as in that was the time when you were kind of leaning more into your earth side. And Monica, were you like, when you were saying you were in the best shape, were you exercising regularly? Was there something that you were doing? It wasn't just like, I would assume it probably wasn't just without any effort on your part, right? So again, I had July. Let's look maybe if there is anything else that jumps at me. I'm going to switch screens. Monica says, yes, I was, and dieting. It was way easier to do those things then than in previous years or since. There was a ton of kind of stable, earthy energy. I got the wrong chart. Sorry, I keep jumping from one screen to another. Today technology is not being the friendliest with me. I started my day by trying to film a yoga video because I am trying to build sort of I'm collecting some footage for starting a yoga channel. By the way, if you want to follow it already, it doesn't have anything on it yet, but it's called Anastasia Does Yoga. So it's going to be YouTube/@Anastasia Does Yoga. So I did the whole video, and then I looked at my phone because I was filming with the phone and with the camera. I looked at my phone and the record button wasn't pressed. So I guess, I didn't press the record button. Then I was like, I'm going to redo it. So it's like, the video took 45 minutes to film, and then I redid it only to later realize that the audio didn't record. So I feel like today things are a little bit tricky with technology. So thank you for being patient with me as always, because this is Julia is excited about yoga. Yeah, me too. I'm really, really excited. I feel like even, it takes a really long time to build a following on YouTube. So it's probably going to be like a little scary to start it again from zero because people don't really always transfer immediately because not everybody's interested in astrology will also be interested in yoga. But yeah, basically it's scary, but I think it's exciting because like I cannot go wrong by my health, right? Like I'm doing this to sort of take care of my health. Okay, so sorry, Monica, I'm jumping around, but I will sort of return to your question. Okay, so this is back to 2020. So I think the biggest thing for sure is this Capricorn activation in your third house, in your like third house of everyday life, scheduling, communication, community. It feels like it potentially brought maybe even some kind of knowledge into your life or connections, or maybe opportunities to like hang out with siblings or people who are sibling like and spend more time with them, and maybe spend more time like taking care of your health. So So the advice would be with this, like, hang out with Capricorns, right? If you don't have, if like you need this sort of structured energy, do you have any Capricorns in your life that you can be like, hey, you work out, you seem to be very disciplined, let's do it together. What else was going on? Mars was in Aries in your sixth house of health, and it may have been retrograde that year. So it may have been, yeah, there it is. Look at it. Look at it. Yeah. So it was retrograding. So not only Jupiter, but also Mars was in Aries in your sixth house of everyday life, work, health, and all the good things. And you're born too, like you're born with North Node Mars conjunction. So you're really meant to tap into this Mars. I would recommend my Exalted Mars candle for you because that is Mars in Capricorn. So it hits both strong Mars placement and Capricorn stable, grounded energy. I have oils, I have candles for anyone who struggles with sort of like physical exercise and being committed. It's a good addition. Monica saying, that's funny. I had reconnected with some Capricorns online I had lost touch with, though they all live on the East Coast. Try to find Capricorns that are more local for you. So I think that's it in terms of like what I see was happening for you. And you can always, I feel like bringing more like martial energy maybe into your life, becoming more consistent with your workouts. Tuesday is the day of Mars, so working out on the day of Mars, having like start with that. And you can even do some kind of like, Mars really likes martial arts, so that would both work on your wellness and it would work on your North Node Mars conjunction, because you're really, you have North Node and Mars together. Like you're here to learn to be more martial, more physical, more active, more like assertive on many levels. And Exalted Mars candle could be really good, or oil. Okay, Monica, I hope that shone some light. Do we say shun? Is it shun? Shined? Shh. I don't know. Okay. So we'll say Monica's question has been answered. Julia. So, Julia. Monica is saying, thanks, that made a lot of sense. I'm glad to hear that. Yes, Julia, you can absolutely ask your question. I see Mandy and I see Caitlin. So it's Julia, and then it's Mandy, and then it's Caitlin. And Julia, I'm going to put your information in. So definitely, if you wanted to type up your question right now, that would be great. And I'm just going to enter your information. How many Odessas are there in the States? There's a lot of Odessas. It's like, I wonder if you are like born in Odessa, does it mean that there's a big Ukrainian population by default because Odessa is a Ukrainian city? Okay, Julia, I think we should be good. What do I see for you in love coming up? I like this question as a fellow Libra rising. Love questions tend to be right up my alley. You're saying, Julia says, LOL, apparently there are lots of Odessas. There are, yeah. I think the States is so weird in that regard. You have cities that are inspired by so many other countries because it's just made up by, it was initially made up by people of all the different cultures and nationalities. Okay, Julia. So is this correct for you? Virgo sun, Aries moon, Libra rising. Linda is asking question, is there's an option to have a birth chart in for private? Yes, there is. If you'd like your information to be private, please, after you send the donation through the link in the description or in the pinned comment, send me an email to anastasia.das.astrology@gmail.com. And you can do like the first line, be like, keep my information private. And then this sort of information on the left, it's just not going to show up, and I can still answer your question. Thank you for that. Thank you for that question. It's definitely a good point. Shao Lengok, 4 a.m. in Vietnam. You're in Vietnam right now. Thank you for watching all the way from Vietnam. Okay. So Julia says it is correct. So I love your Venus in Libra. What a charming, beautiful, artistic, creative, stunning placement to have, right? People see you and they see how creative and sort of, it's a really, I think that energy just comes at you. If you'd like a reading, I do ask for a donation. Pay what you can at the link in the description or in the pinned comment. And then you can either put your information in the chat if you don't mind it being public. If you want it to be private, you can send me an email at anastasia.das.astrology@gmail.com and specify that you'd like your information to be private. So, okay, so you are born with your North Node in Aries, right? So it's interesting because you have Venus in Libra, but your Venus is on the South Node. So sometimes South Node Venus energy suggests that maybe you've spent past lifetimes being really like creative, indulgent, and just focused on like relationships and taking care of other people. Libra rising energy, we oftentimes tend to like you also have Mars in the 4th house and Neptune in the 4th, and having 4th house of childhood and early life be Capricorn is not like the easiest energy. By the way, do you live abroad, Julia? Do you live like somewhere else and not where you were born? There is just, there are oftentimes in Libras this sort of strong awareness of other people and ability to be a peacemaker and diplomat. And so even though your Venus is in Libra, on some level, you're kind of learning to tap more into your Aries energy and maybe leave that sort of shallow, playful, just like I can flirt with everyone energy and go into like, this is what I want. And I'm not going to say yes to anything that doesn't fit my expectations. You're saying not easy, but you're in the US. Are you still in Texas though? Or did you move to like maybe a different location? So with that, and even in your chart, right, you have Venus, not only you have Venus ruling your past energy, your South Node, and Mars ruling your current energy of the North Node, but the two are in a square. So this sort of like charming, people-pleasing, diplomatic energy needs to be balanced with your strategic, hardworking, kind of martial energy and your independent Aries energy, you're saying. You are in New Mexico, lived in California too. Okay. Yeah, that's to me like you moved away from your home state because your sun, the planet of identity, is in the 12th house, and the ruler of your house of home, family, living situation is Saturn, which is 12 houses away from the 4th house. And if anyone ever wants a full-sized reading, you want me to look at your chart for like an hour and answer all of your questions, you can find it at anastasia.astrology.com. So the question was, what do I see coming up? So we've had your nodal return just passed. And my question for you, did anything happen in your romantic life between April 2023 throughout 2024? Were there maybe, if you didn't meet anyone, was there anything like brewing or any clarity, or maybe you said no to some people? Reed is asking about the Gemini new moon. I just posted a video on the Gemini new moon, so please check it out. I'm sure it can answer your question. Listen for your rising sign, and it's going to I talk about all rising signs in there. So Julia, do let me know. You're saying, oh my God, yes, I've been balancing. That's such a Libra term. You're always meant to balance. So the big thing that is coming up for you there are actually a couple of things. So we have, there's been a lot of focus on your house of relationships for a while. There were eclipses here from April 2023 all the way until even early 2025, right? We just had the final eclipse in Aries. There was South Node in your first house, North Node. So your nodal return, which is something that happens around the age 36, 37, 38. And so there was potentially some kind of invitation to let go of the old ways, again, of that sort of people pleasing tendency, or even sort of ability to think about relationships and actually go into and be in one. Okay, you're saying, yes, I've been with the same guy and been growing separately, but trying to get more together. Okay. So you're officially together, but you're saying you've sort of been growing apart. Saturn, so Neptune has just went into your 7th house in late March, and Saturn is about to come here on May 24th. So in 5 days from now, Saturn is going to enter. And Saturn is like a stern teacher, like a controller of some sort, right? Very kind of serious, not officially together, been trying to be official. So Saturn is like a reality check, right? Saturn is coming in and it's gonna pressure test your relationship. It's gonna be like, is this meant to last? And if it's meant to last, Saturn can bring commitment. Saturn can sort of make things more. And also, another question for you, Julia, do you remember what was happening in your life? It probably wouldn't be about relationships, but the last time Saturn was in Aries, which would have been 96, 97, 98. So what was happening in your life when you were 10, 11, 12? Like, what was happening with relationships? What was like the general sort of mood you were in? So Saturn will either come and it will break the relationship completely. If you intuitively are feeling that this is not meant to last, if you're like in your heart of hearts feel like you're not the right fit, if your sort of knee-jerk gut feeling is that it's not going to make it through that sort of pressure situation, then it can possibly fall apart. But if it's a relationship that is worth keeping, that is worth working on, Saturn can also bring this like strengthening, right? Saturn can bring more stresses and more pressures in the life of your partner. And then that again, whether you're able to survive it or not, will be shown by Saturn. The ruler of your house of relationships is Mars. It's an exalted Mars, so I think in general it's a sign of a pretty like serious, strategic, hardworking partner. But Libra risings are definitely about to go through a more complicated time in relationships. And for some people, it will be commitment. For some people, it will be like, this relationship is maybe not perfect, but I accept it for what it is and I'm going to work on it. And for others, it will be like, no, I'm going to go find something and someone that fits me better. So I think that's the main things. The main thing you're born in 86. That means you're 38, right? 36, 37, 38. You are in a Jupiter ruled year. 39 will be activating the ruler of your house of relationships. So it can definitely be, like, you can get married when you're 39. That can also be something that's going to happen. Like, maybe you'll just decide to make this relationship official, because if you look back at like 12 years ago when you were 27, what was happening with relationships, if there's good precedent, because you're about to turn 39, and 39 is the 4th house year. It's activating the ruler of your house of marriage. So it can really be like, some type of serious energy and commitment. And what's interesting too, Saturn in Aries is not as tricky for you because you're born with Saturn in Sagittarius and you're born with Mercury in Leo. So Saturn in Aries is going to be making a number of harmonious aspects. So it could be really kind of good. AJ is asking, how will my career and love life look like this year? Just FYI, AJ, I prefer Anastasia. I don't really go by Anna. And so if you have a question, these are donation-based readings. There is a payment link in the description of the video and in the pinned comment. So if you have a question, I do ask for a donation, and then you can submit your information, and then I'll take a look. But I need your date, time, and place of birth, not just the month and the year, and definitely need more. Okay, Julia. Yeah, I think it can be pretty decent, but I have some clients. I have a client who is in her 60s, and so when Saturn was in her 7th house, she's a Libra rising. So when it was in her 7th house, her partner ended up getting laid off, and it was a more difficult time in their relationship. So it's gonna bring up some complications to make sure that the relationship can withstand and survive. So I hope that answers your question, Julia. Definitely good luck. Don't be scared. I'm a little nervous, to be honest. I'm a little sort of like, we'll see how this goes, but hopefully it's good. Okay, Mandy, Caitlin, or Linda, are you guys here? Mandy saying I'm literally having the same questions. Julia, dating and it's new and confused. Hot then cold though for me, and now I'm confused. Think I'm dating a slight avoidant. Julia says I'm nervous, but I trust it. Do you know, Julia, also what is the guy's rising sign? Because you can also look at where Saturn is going for him and be like, what are the issue that will likely come up? Okay, Mandy, you're saying, I think you did send your information through Venmo, right? Mandy, are you okay with your information being visible? Linda is here. Linda, I got your email. Julia says, I think he's a Virgo rising. So for him, Saturn is going into the house of debts and loans and taxes. So it may be some kind of like, it may be a financial question for him. Some kind of debt, some kind of financial situation that he has to deal with. You're born, Julia, you're born with this strong Venus ruling the house of partners' money. So you're sort of, in general, you can be blessed with like a strong, like, I think, sort of a partner who is well off financially. If any of you guys worries about upcoming Saturn, I have Saturn in Aquarius candles, which is Saturn co-present with Venus, and strong, powerful, empowered Saturn could be a good remediation because Saturn in Aries is in its fall, which makes things more complex. Okay. Mandy. So Mandy, is your question, so your question is about, it's about love, right? If you want to add anything, I mean, I see what you wrote. You're saying, can you see my love life from now till the end of the year? Astrology wise, I'm seeing someone and it's not so clear. Okay, putting your information in. And I saw that you said it's okay to have it visible. Okay. So Mandy, you are Gemini Sun, Leo Moon, Scorpio rising. Is this you? I feel like there's a song. Oh, this is you. What is that? Is that Cinderella? No, I'm sure it's not Cinderella, but that's just makes me think of Cinderella. Okay. Okay, Julia was saying he is, but he's also changed careers. He's getting back on his feet. You're welcome, Julia. Yeah, just like it may be just some kind of restriction that's connected to like his life and what he's figuring out. Okay, Mandy saying, yes, it's about love and someone I'm dating right now. She's a Taurus sun, Taurus rising, Scorpio moon. She just turned 31. So if she just turned 31, you're turning 50, right? If she's 31, you guys are 19 years apart. So you may have the same nodes. Let me see. 31. What is the math? Was she born in 94? And you're saying yes, is that to you potentially having the same nodes? 94. Do we know what was the node doing in 94? Not off the top of my head. I do know some things, but sometimes no, I don't think you have the same nodes. Okay. So your question is basically connected, like you're wondering about this specific relationship and what might be manifesting, right? You're wondering like what may the future bring. It might be worth looking at a horary chart, which is a little bit more like definitive if we're asking what is happening, what is the future of the relationship. Unless you just want me to look more at your chart and tell you what is getting activated for you, which may sort of touch on some of these things as well. Okay, you're saying her north node is in Scorpio. Yeah. So it's you guys are, you're like 19 years apart. So it's normally the nodal. It depends really. Sometimes it's 18 years, sometimes it's 19 years, but hers is Scorpio, yours is Sagittarius, so it's very close. Okay, so you're saying specifically what is the future going to bring for us, because I'm confused. You're saying it's just look at mine and see what's going on from now until the end of the year, what I can expect. Okay. So your birthday's coming up. That's exciting. Happy early birthday. So there's a lot that's been happening in your house of relationships. You've had Uranus here since 2018, 2019. Uranus is destabilizing. Uranus is eye-opening, revolutionary. It shakes you out of complacency. It brings relationships that awaken you. And so on some level, maybe this relationship is meant to introduce you to something that you haven't fully explored in your life. The ruler of your house of relationships is Venus. She is in Leo at the top of the chart. So the partners you tend to attract are very, I think, maybe noticeable, big, bold characters. They may have very expensive taste and appreciate compliments. And it applies to you too, because it's your Venus, but she rules your house of relationships. So I think that's where this sort of feels like it could be about relationships. I'm going to stop sharing and restart this again because I think it's not showing my cursor. Okay, now it is. And your chart ruler is Mars. It's an Aries and it's trining this Venus. So I think in general, there is kind of good connection between you and what you are aspiring for. I think, with your Mars and Aries, you are quite fiery. You're someone who is very, I think, hardworking and unafraid and sort of interested in trying new things. So wait, this is 94. Let me just adjust it to where we are currently. And okay, so we said you're turning 50. So 48, 49, 50. 50 is Saturn ruled. Saturn is about to go into your sixth house. So this doesn't feel to be very romantic. It feels to be a little bit more about work, maybe your work life speeding up or some kind of health matters becoming more active. The good news, the positive news is Uranus is going to leave your seventh house. So if we're talking about things being shaky, that is about to get better with Uranus leaving. And that happens on July 7th and lasts until November 7th. Uranus does come back after November 7th for a few more months. So there may be some kind of clarity and maybe more answers between that July-November period. But then Uranus can sort of come back again and shake things up. Okay, so wait, let me see. You're saying, yes, we both have Mars and Aries. Okay, you're saying, I see. Hi, Anzena. You're saying, hope I received yours. Did you send a donation? I don't know if I have. I don't think I've seen your donation. I have, on my list, I have Mandy, Caitlin, and Linda right now. Oh, wait, Anzena. There you are. Just took a minute, I guess. But yeah, I see you. Thank you so much. And I will add you to my list. Okay. Yeah, Mandy. So in that regard, 50 being the year of Saturn, it does activate your Saturn in its Saturn in Cancer is considered to be in its detriment. It brings up some kind of family karma. It can potentially encourage you to work on maybe some fears connected to emotional vulnerability, maybe even your belief in yourself. I would recommend Saturnian rituals and my Saturn candles and oils because Saturn in Cancer is a more compromised Saturn, and Saturn in Aquarius can help sort of separate the emotions from, Saturn in Cancer people sometimes grow up in an environment where the duties are connected to emotions, and the parents and authority figures are very emotionally driven and a little bit sort of unstable. So it's harder to separate like what needs to be doing because it's just part of your everyday life versus what you feel about things. So doing Saturnian remediations could be helpful. But romantically, I think that's the main thing I'm seeing. And of course, so another positive shift that happens is, I think, Saturn leaving your fifth house. Even though it's going into the sixth house of work, it is leaving your fifth house on May 24th. And until September 1st. So between July 7th and September 1st, you're going to have both Saturn out of your house of romance and Uranus out of your house of significant partnerships. So that could be supportive and that could be clarifying. And we do have a lunar eclipse in Pisces in September. So September could be very much like a crucial, interesting time period in which you get some answers. What was happening in your romantic life last September when we had the first lunar eclipse in Pisces? Mandy saying, well, she's definitely activating that. I'm usually very secure. Nothing was happening in September. When did you meet the girl we're talking about? Yeah, I feel like it would be interesting to see what your charts together look like. I do relationship readings, so that would be like a subject for that, to see what gets activated in you, especially like sort of these like karmic connections of the nodes. You said her north node is in Scorpio, so her north node is really close to your ascendant, so that's a karmic connection. But then it's her north node, and north node matures a little bit closer to 40s. So she maybe is not in that vibration yet. So you were single in September, you met her 4 years ago, and we stopped talking because she was in a situationship and she came back around in March. So, okay, so, to sum up, I do think there's going to be a lightening and maybe less sort of hardship and pressure when Saturn leaves on May 24th and when Uranus leaves on July 7th. They do come back. Saturn on September 1st, Uranus on, what did I say, November 7th, I believe. So there's maybe going to be some kind of like final accord of needing to clear the air. But if anything, Saturn being here and the eclipses being here, I think they're maybe like encouraging you to take a leap of faith, but for sure, also like assert your boundaries and make sure you're speaking about what matters to you and like not sort of creating more confusion by not expressing yourself. So trying to speak up could be really important. And 50 does activate Saturn. So 50 does suggest that Saturn will be a more dominant planet for you. And it actually begins the moment Gemini season begins. So this Saturnian shift on May 24th and then the return into your house of relationships on September 1st can be extra important for you. Astrolofax is saying Sun in the 8th sextile to Mars in its nativity. Very strong woman. Yeah, Mandy, very strong woman. Mars in Aries is a chart ruler also. So yeah, I think that's what I'm seeing in terms of what's happening. You're saying so Saturn is activating my chart on May 24th, or it's leaving my chart. Saturn becomes your time lord the moment you turn 50. And it's going to be your time lord when you're 51, because 50 is connected to the third house, and 51 is connected to the fourth house. So you're entering 2 years of Saturn. It will be similar to 12 years ago. So it's worth looking at 2013 and 2014. The fact that it becomes your dominant planet suggests that whatever Saturn is doing is more important. It's never really leaving your chart, but it is leaving your house of pleasure and romance and sex. And so is Neptune. Neptune has been in your house of romance and pleasure and sex, confusing things for a really long time. So Saturn leaving for 3 months could be a positive shift, but it's going to come back for a few more months before it leaves completely. So I feel like there is this clarification that's coming up in the summer, and things might start to feel better and lighter, but then it may start to feel more conflicting and confusing again, or there may be some sort of final knots you have to untie in September, October, potentially until early February. Doesn't that bring more stability? Having Saturn as your time lord, it could. Saturn in your chart is in its detriment. I mean, you're saying you're usually very stable, but like Saturn in Cancer can bring up some sort of issues around like in your chart, it's in the 9th house of faith and beliefs, and maybe believing in yourself and kind of creating your own system of rules and boundaries for yourself, and like learning to process your emotions and maybe set better boundaries around emotions and transmute the pain of like childhood or difficulty you've experienced into more kind of harmonious experiences. So I think the fact that Saturn becomes your time lord activates all of that. So that's my take on what's coming up for you. Again, if you want me to like look at your 2 charts together, it might be worth doing a relationship reading to kind of see things. Also, I'm going to close my list for now because I have a few people still on my list. And next we have Mandy. So I hope this was helpful. Next, I have Caitlin. Okay, and Caitlin sent me emails. So let me see. So right now it's Caitlin, and then Linda, and then Anzena. You're welcome, Mandy. I appreciate you and your support and your donation as well. Okay, Caitlin, are you still around? Irene, how do you get on the list? So I guess I can take one more person. There is in the description, there are links for donations. And so submitting a donation through one of those links and then emailing me your information at anastasia.does.astrology@gmail.com would get you on the list. But this would be the last person for today, I think. Okay, Caitlin. Let me know, Caitlin, if you're here. And if Caitlin is not presently here, then Linda can go next. Linda is ready. Linda just said she's here, if she's not. Silvery saying I would like to get on the list for next time. Yeah, I do these. I've been doing these every Monday, so you can definitely get on the list for next time. If you want to, you can send a donation now and just specify that you'd like to be on the list for next time, or just join next time. Okay. So Caitlin, if Caitlin is not here, I see that Linda is here. Can definitely look at Linda's chart next. Okay. Caitlin, definitely let us know if you are back. And Linda, did you send me your question, or would you mind typing in your question? Yeah, I'll see you next time, Silvery, too. Oh, okay, I see. Okay, Linda, let me make sure your information is private. So we're going to stop. Might take me a minute to figure it out. I've done it before, so I know it's possible, but I'm gonna. And like I said, I still have Caitlin, Linda, Anzena, and Christie now also. We'll see. I'm going to try to get to as many of you as I can. I should probably be able to do everyone, but if not today, if for some reason I don't get to you today, then I would ask you to join next Monday, and I will make sure to prioritize you guys. Okay, just double checking. I put all of the information in correctly. And let me see, how do we... So I'm just trying to figure out how to adjust the look of the chart, and then I'll share it the moment I will figure it out. And there we are. Let me just combine it with the transits and see if that can work. I'm not sure what this chart is doing, but it's making things more complicated for me. For some reason, I can hide your information when it's just your natal chart, but then the moment there is a different chart, but we're actually, I think we can still do it. Basically, it only hides it when it's your natal, but then the moment I add transits into the mix, it's like, ta-da, here's everything else. Okay, Linda, so I do ask people to prioritize one question just because I want to get to everyone, and I want to give you the, sort of the full correct answer. So if I'm going to answer multiple questions, it might take more time. Okay, so the question was, what would be good days to get chin surgery done this year? I'm looking to schedule it later this year, hopefully, or early next year. It would be for cosmetic purposes, cosmetic surgery dates. Okay, so we're gonna focus on your chart and we're gonna, I think, look up the transits. So let me see. So first of all, with the chart. So please let me know, Linda, if this is correct for you. Cancer, Sun, Taurus, Moon, Sagittarius, Rising. And then I will look at some positive transits separately. Okay, you're saying it is correct. So, chin surgery. So, the chin is going to be. So, you always want to have a strong Mars. You want the moon to be ideally waning. You don't want to do it on the full moon, and you don't want to do it on the moon that rules the body part you're working on. So right away, it's not no full moons, no moon in Aries, because Aries rules the head. So you really don't want there to be the moon in Aries. And probably ideally good Mars. So you're saying I'm looking to schedule it later this year, hopefully, or early next year. And you would like some good dates. So Mars is about to go into Virgo. That would be good. We definitely would want to avoid Mars in Libra. I mean, Mars in Libra actually is not the worst thing to have for cosmetic surgery. My concern is just like it's like Mars and its detriment. So I would potentially go for a more like precise Mars in Virgo. So this was your chart. We just looked at that. So I'm just going to share, just going to animate and look at some potential dates that could work. So this would no longer be your chart. This would just be the chart of the current astrological weather. Okay. So I'm just going to keep in mind that you are a Sagittarius rising. And so the goal is to do it later this year, hopefully, or early next year. Okay. So let's see. Let's actually see if I can. I'm going to try to keep Sagittarius on the ascendant. This is a bit of a challenging question, but it's sort of a welcome challenge, I think, because it like makes me stretch different kinds of muscles. Sagittarius on the ascendant. What is your natal Venus? Okay. Okay, Cancer, Sun, Venus in Leo, Moon in Taurus. So Moon in Taurus in general is pretty helpful in the house of health. It is in opposition to Jupiter, which is interesting. You do have Mars in the house of health. Okay, I do have Sin just also sent me a payment, and you're asking for next live next week. And thank you so much for such a generous donation. That is so awesome. Thank you. Okay. Would like to be list for the next live. I appreciate that. Okay, Linda saying, yeah, no, don't worry about it. It's like I think I kind of, I like looking at like more complicated sort of surgery date type of questions, because that's something that I would be interested in looking up myself to sort of get like the best date possible for all kinds of things. Normally you just think of people trying to like elect the date for like a wedding, right? Or something, or like a business starting, but surgery is just as valid of a question. Okay. So, my thinking is, I think I like So I'm also gonna do, and thank you for bearing with me as I figure this out. We're gonna figure it out together. Okay, so Sagittarius rising. And let's see. So first of all, we have Mars in Virgo. Which begins on June 17th. Is this too soon for you? Is like June, July too soon? Should we look at like later in the year, or are you open to doing it relatively? It's not too soon. Okay. So no moon in Aries. We remember that, all of us together. You guys keep me in check. If I, for some reason, start looking at the moon in Aries, you should be like, nope, no moon in Aries. Okay, so Mars in Virgo is a really decent Mars, right? Like Virgo is attention, there is attention to detail, there is perfectionism, there is like strength to Mars in Virgo. So, and the moon, it's pretty good for the moon to be waning. So we want the moon to like not be too bright, because the moon sometimes is connected to like, you know, water and liquid energy, and sometimes if the moon is like too bright, there is more of a danger to like bleed out. I mean, it doesn't look like it's the kind of surgery that, it's not like an open heart surgery, so if it's a cosmetic surgery, it's probably a lot more like contained, and it's also not an emergency kind of surgery, so I think it's going to be fine. But so over here we also have this is June 17th. We have a nice connection between Jupiter and Mars on June 17th. So that's my potential date. We're going to skip 18th. We're going to skip 19th. We're going to skip 20th potentially. So 21st, it's a Saturday, so it might be harder. 21st has like a decent energy to it. '21st, 22nd. So these are dates in June that can potentially be pretty good. Even the 26th of June, there is a lot of healing and supportive energy, I think, with Cancer. There's also alternatively an option of getting Uranus out of your sixth house of health. So there is less of like surprise type of energy that Uranus sometimes represents. So that is after July 7th. And Mars is still in Virgo. So I hope you guys are writing these down, because I'm not. Linda, I hope you're writing these down. Okay, you're saying you are. Good. Okay. I'm glad you're writing it down. Okay, let me see. Where was I? 6 p.m. Just still keeping track of the ascendant. So Jupiter in Cancer, the period from June 9th, 2025 until June 30th, 2026 is generally also quite good for health matters. And once we get past like the mid-June mark, that's when Jupiter starts to sort of get free from the more challenging aspects from Saturn, which is also lovely and supportive. Okay, so this is July. Uranus is out of your house of health. Venus is separating from the conjunction with Uranus. What is she doing here? She's applying to a square with Mars. So I would probably wait for Venus to separate from a square with Mars. So let's see here. We're going to July. So July 21st is pretty good because of the Venus Moon conjunction. Not great, but it's decent. Maybe July 23rd. even July 24th, potentially early in the day. Okay, let's see some other times. So yeah, Mars and Libra, I would probably skip, even though it's like Libra. I would think beauty, but Mars is in detriment in Libra, so I would go past Mars and Libra. And wait, for Mars and Scorpio is a good one. So that takes us into September, and we're going to be out of the eclipse season by September 17th, I believe. When is the eclipse? Is it the 17th? So you definitely don't want to, like, I would not do things on the eclipse or around the eclipse. So yeah, like after September, we're coming out of the eclipse season over here. Mars is in Scorpio, moon in, okay. I'm going to give you some more dates for Mars in Scorpio. Let's see, maybe even potentially for the sun to be in Scorpio already, because the sun is in its fall. Hi, Presh Sola. Happy birthday. Linda says, I don't want surprises. Yeah, so here we are later in the year, right? We are in October. Mars in Scorpio is Mars in its rulership. But I want to look at your chart again. October 25th. I just want to see what your chart looks like, because I feel like I don't want it to be opposing your natal Mars. Yeah, your natal Mars is at 29 degrees. So Mars opposition is not great. Okay, let me share this again. Linda, you're still here? I assume. I'm like, okay, Caitlin, I also saw your comment. I see that you're mentioning that you don't know how to comment. If you want to send me another email and just confirm that you'll be here in the next like 5 minutes, because that's when I'm probably going to start looking at your chart. Yeah, Caitlin. So just send me an email and then I'll pull up your chart. And also, if you can send out the question, because I don't know if I have your question. I do have your information from your email, but if you could please send me an email with the question and with a mention that you're like on the live for the next 10 minutes, and then I'll look at your question next. Okay, so I think, Linda, I think I'm going to skip Mars and Scorpio for you, even though Mars and Scorpio is in rulership, but it is in your 12th house, and 12th house is the house of hidden enemies. And do we really want to like have Mars in the house of hidden enemies? Probably not, right? Because like, what if the surgeon is a hidden enemy? We don't want that to happen. So I feel like here I would probably wait for Mars to go into Sagittarius, which is your first house, which is decent. Mars in Sagittarius, ruled by Jupiter, exalted in Cancer, really good. Okay, so Mars goes into Sagittarius on November 4th. So I'm also going to give you November dates. I'm still trying to keep Sagittarius on the ascendant. Linda is saying I'm writing everything down. I can also book you again for another day for more dates. That is really sweet of you. Yeah, I think I might wrap it up with Mars in Sagittarius. So, okay. So again, we really don't want the moon to be in Aries, right? We're going to skip the moon in Aries. This is the full moon. I feel like November 4th later in the day can work, but okay. So here we have some good options. Let's see. So November, the moon in Cancer. Uranus is back in your 6th house, but the moon is strong. The moon is conjoining Jupiter. So this is November 10th. November 10th, really like November 10th. And then what would be some alternative? Yeah, November 10th is probably my like highlight, and that is Monday. So I think November 10th would probably be the best one. And then after that, you can also look at like the 11th potentially is pretty good. And the few days after that, 10th, 11th, 12th is fine. Maybe not 13, 14 because the moon is squaring Mars. Okay, I think those are the ones that I will stick with. Linda, I hope this is helpful. Those are the ones that jump at me. Okay, Linda. Caitlin is next, and I think, let me see if Caitlin sent me a message. Also, for any of you who have questions that are more personal, that require like sort of in-depth analysis, book a reading at anastasiadoesastrology.com, and we can figure things out. I can book your reading, basically. Sorry, I'm like trying to read an email and say what I'm trying to say. If you'd like a full reading, anastasiadoesastrology.com. You're welcome, Linda. Okay, Caitlin. Okay, Caitlin says she's here. It's so crazy that you're unable to comment, Caitlin. B, why would it not let you comment? But okay, Caitlin. Putting your information in. Oh, there you are. I had to use that YouTube. Kitty cat cute, Caitlin? Is that you? Okay. Okay, that is you. Great. So we have Aquarius sun, Taurus moon, Pisces rising. Is this correct? Is this you? So the question is, I am out of money and don't want to work. I appreciate the honesty. Don't we all feel that way, right? Um, working is overrated. The question is, can I just be an artist and how? Good question. Okay. So let's see, what does your chart say about just being an artist? So you have your south node in Taurus, your north node is in Scorpio. So the south node is ruled by Venus. You also have the beautiful Venus on the ascendant in conjunction with Saturn and in conjunction with Mercury. So I feel like you can be an artist, but there is probably like a specific spin on the kind of artist you can be. So your moon is in Taurus, but it is conjunct south node. So it's an interesting one because moon in Taurus tends to be really, really stable, but south node moon conjunction can suggest moodiness and maybe some kind of like emotional instability. And again, it sort of reads as like south node in Taurus, the soul of like a creative person, an artist in past lifetimes, maybe focusing on making art. It was in the 3rd house, so the house of like everyday life, communication, lounging around, being in the garden. That's kind of like who you were in the past. Irene is saying, I sent you my info. Irene, did you send me the donation as well? My list is closed at this point, so I don't think I had a donation from you unless I missed it. But if I missed it, do let me know, because these readings are donation based. When did you send it? I definitely do not see it. So please confirm that you did send it because it's not showing up on my end. But okay, Caitlin, sorry, I am gonna focus on your chart. Okay, so South Node ruled by Venus, past lifetime connected to like art and creativity, and maybe things just being chill and easy. In this lifetime, you have Venus and Mercury and Saturn conjunct in the first house, and Saturn can bring delays, right? And Saturn, I think, will also want you to maybe use your creativity for some kind of higher purpose. Saturn in the first house will also want you to become truly yourself and sort of overcome some of your fears. And Saturn in the first can be very painfully insecure when in one-on-one type of situation. While in a social context, in like a professional context, maybe your insecurity disappears. But I think Saturn in the first does create this kind of like desire to hide from the world somehow. And your North Node in the ninth house, conjunct Pluto and conjunct Jupiter and in Scorpio, it makes me wonder if you can be an artist, but being an artist that like if you're an artist who's also a psychotherapist, if you're using art to help people heal from trauma, that's what I'm seeing more so in your chart. Because again, with your midheaven, which is the angle of career, is ruled by Jupiter in Scorpio. Jupiter in Scorpio can be very aware of like the pain and the suffering, and can also actually help people see the light in the suffering. And then North Node Pluto is the energy of transformation and being the person who heals others and who helps others overcome some of their darkness. And the ruler of your North Node is Mars in the 12th house, which is also all about like noble struggle in the invisible realm. And your Sun is here and your Mars is here. So I wonder, what is your relationship with your father is like? And was there any maybe like the father who wasn't there or who was missing or had some kind of like temper, or maybe like a father who had like issues on some level, maybe even health issues. So like I feel like you can be an artist, but like being an artist with some kind of purpose is what your chart reads to me. You're saying he left. Okay, so even like honestly, even an artist that speaks about some kind of important social issues and expresses your pain through art, that's what I think could be good for you. What did you study? Have you ever thought about doing like art therapy, Caitlin? And like using your art to help and heal people? Irene says, before sending the info, I went to her website and did it through PayPal. Let me see, because I have some tabs open, but I don't have all of them open. Irene, I see you. And thank you for your generosity. This is very sweet of you. Okay. Thank you so much for like also making sure that I see your payment, because it like wasn't sure. It wasn't showing up for some reason. Okay, Caitlin says herbs and yoga. Is that what you studied? So yeah, like you have this soul of like an artist, and you may have a tendency to sort of, especially early in life, lean into being maybe too like stuck or stubborn or like a little bit complacent with your South Node and Taurus, because you just want to play, you want to like paint, you want to have a good time. But your North Node in Scorpio says that to what you're doing, there has to be some kind of like healing, shamanic, intuitive, therapeutic quality. Like you have to embrace disruption, you have to embrace the chaos somehow. And if you don't do it consciously, life will keep throwing things at you, right? Like starting with like using your pain, like if your father left, right? It's the Sun in the 12th house, it's in its fall. I have Sun in Leo, candles and oils that can remediate some of the Aquarius Sun energy. It can sort of help you connect with your light and be more visible and sort of learn to express your energy in a more visible way, because I think sometimes 12th house suns tend to be a little bit unsure about what they want or who they want to be, and the sun in Leo, or even the sun in Aries, which is exalted sun that I created recently, could be really good. Caitlin says art therapy is a great suggestion. Yeah, like think of it as like you are meant to heal people. You're meant to do work that is like that uses your art, because you do have like the Venus on the ascendant is a very creative, very artistic placement, and so is Moon in Taurus, and so is South Node in Taurus. Like I think it's fair to say that you've carried over from your past lifetimes significant artistic skills and talents, but then the question is like, how do you use it? Okay, I have Anzena, I have Christie, and I have Irene on my list. Are you guys here? Ideally in that order, but if it's in a different order, that's okay. And let me also check if I didn't miss anyone. There was Sin, and Sin asked to be on the list for next time. Anzena, yeah, I feel like that's it. I feel like Anzena, Christie, and Irene. Are you ladies here? Okay, Anzena, Irene. Anzena, did you send me your information? And if you didn't, could you please put it in the comment section? And Irene, I think you did send yours, right? Okay, I see Irene. You were born in Uzbekistan. Do you speak Russian by any chance, Irene? Because I do a little bit. What am I saying? A little bit. I do it fluently. Okay. Anzena. Could you send me your information again? I'm not seeing it in my email list. So could you just copy paste it in my comments? Because if you send it, it's probably like rolled up somewhere in the comments above. So I don't know where it is anymore. And so right now it's Anzena, Christie, and Irene. I hope you don't mind waiting, Irene. Okay. And Anzena, also your place of birth. Okay, let me put it in. July 1885. 1 a.m. Perumbavoor. Nope, not finding it. Is there a way to spell it differently? Sometimes it's like very fickle when it comes to putting places in India. Could it be spelled differently, Anzena? Or if you also know any cities, any like big cities nearby that you can suggest as options. I am trying to see if there is something that Kochi, India. Okay. Is Kerala is a neighborhood, or is it a city also? Okay. Wait, no, we only have Kochi, Japan. Why is it giving me a hard time? Kerala is the province. I'm just going to see if there is a different spelling for it. Doesn't look like it. Looks like that's what it's supposed to be named. And if not, Aluva. Okay. Thank you for sending all of these possible suggestions. I can also always just pull up your chart on like a different software and not mine, and use that in combination. Yeah, no, it's like consistent today on not finding I wish there was a way to sort it through, because it's showing me Kerala as a province, but it's not showing Kerala, Bala, Humkar. It's interesting. It does have, I feel like it has a lot of things for India, but not the things that we needed to have today. Okay, I think I'm gonna go a roundabout way and try to put your information on astro.com, and then maybe just share that. Okay, July 18th, 85. Let's try it this way. And thank you for being patient. It's normally, I feel like, yeah, like I feel like with India, it sometimes acts out. And there are also like a lot of other places that sometimes it doesn't know. Astro.com tends to be another solution. And AstroSeek is a pretty decent website to go to. Perumbavur. No, Astro.com doesn't know it. Okay, we're going to go to AstroSeek next, I guess. And then you did give me alternative places, so I can also look at the alternative places. But let's see. Would Astro.com know? Astro.com? No, AstroSeek knows. Okay, July 18, 85, 1 a.m. July 18, 85, 1 a.m. And also, if you know, Anzena, if you know your sun, moon, and rising, and you want to share it with me so I confirm when I pull up your chart, that would be really helpful too. Okay, let's see. Hi, Christie. Yeah, so Christie's next, and then Irene, and then that will be it for today. So please bear with me. I feel like we're making progress and figuring it out. So Anzena's question was, will I get married again? What's ahead in my love life? Cancer, Sun, and Moon, Taurus, Rising. Okay, I'm gonna try to share. So Cancer, Sun, and Moon, indeed. Taurus, Rising. Does this look like you? Have we figured it out? I think it should be correct, right? Because that's what it is at this point. So I assume, Anzena, you've been married before, right? Because you're asking, will I get married again? When did you get married? When did you get divorced? If you don't mind sharing. So you are born with, let me see. Sometimes okay, you're saying yes to being married before? So your north node is in Taurus. Your south node is in Scorpio. Your south node is in the house of relationships. It is conjunct Saturn. Your north node is in Taurus in your first house of identity. So south node together with Saturn in the seventh house of relationships does indicate that you have learned, you have been someone in the past lifetimes that have been very relationship oriented, and it is also likely that you may have been in relationships that were very, and this, I'm talking about past lifetimes, I'm also talking about the first approximately 42 years of your life, when south node is stronger, north node matures in your, like when you're around 42. So So there could be a pattern like in your early life to really prioritize relationships, but because it's South Node in Scorpio, there's maybe a tendency to prioritize relationships that are somewhat turbulent, unpredictable, and like complicated. And there can also be with Saturn here, there could be like a very strong um on some level like a tendency to choose partners who are unavailable or stern or sort of harsh, like people who have like strong principles and rules and maybe older than you, and maybe they feel like they're somewhat like stifling your freedom on some level. um, sometimes it could be connected to like some kind of like a parent who maybe was that way, and then you're going for partners who have the same type of energy. But with Saturn in the seventh, you always have to think about your own tendency to protect yourself and maybe like your own tendency to choose people that are cold and detached because you're maybe on some level like afraid of true like intimacy and vulnerability, and there might be a fear of letting someone in because of the past experience and what you've learned in the past. With your north node in so your north node is in Taurus. I think it's kind of suggesting that in order to find a good balance between relationships and self, you first need to explore. Okay, you're saying you got married May 3rd, 2007. My husband passed away in 2023, November 30. I'm really sorry for your loss. Um, okay. Do you feel like your relationship I guess the question is like, do you feel like you have been able to be free to sort of explore your personal desires when you were in a relationship? Was your husband like sick at all? Were you taking care of him at all, or did he pass away suddenly? Because South Node Scorpio 2023, we would have had what was happening in November? Let me just should November. Yeah, I'm curious if he passed away suddenly or if it was maybe like a more longer. He passed away suddenly. Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. South Node in Scorpio does often suggest that you are kind of coming into this world from a lifetime of m- turbulent lifetimes. You're like incarnating with the knowledge of like ups and downs and upheavals and difficulty, and it's in your house of relationships. And the remedy, like the healing sort of remedy and the balancing side of it, is Taurian and Venusian. And I think it reads to me as a need to explore who you are when you are not in a relationship, to befriend yourself and to get to know your creative side, and to maybe take on a bunch of creative passions and hobbies. And so your husband passed away. It hasn't even been 2 years since he passed away. So on some level right now, you can explore who you are and you can heal through creative exploration and through like creative sort of pursuits. And that could also be where maybe you find some healing and you meet someone. So the ruler of your house of relationships is Mars in Cancer. Mars is in its fall in Cancer, so that could be a bit more complicated for relationships. There are rituals you can do. There's like planetary remediation you can do. I have candles for Mars. Exalted Mars or Mars Kazemi could be a really good choice for you. So in terms of like remediation, the question, like in terms of will you get married again? I think I don't see why wouldn't you marry? I feel like yes, I think, for sure, but like um in order to figure out the exact timing, it's more complicated, and I think I think as of right now, you're maybe more in this period of like self-discovery and needing to focus on you. And then of course, there's actually quite a positive romantic transit coming up, but it's maybe more next year. So Jupiter is about to enter Cancer, and the ruler of your house of relationships is Cancer, but it's late in Cancer. Here it is at 25 degrees. So Jupiter will be conjoining your Cancer planets in April, May next year. So that might be the time when you meet someone. Okay, you're saying, yes, I am focusing on myself now. So right now, I think you're more in the time of self exploration. And then potentially in about a year from now, when Jupiter is conjoining your planets one by one, and when it comes to touch your Mars, that might be the time when you meet someone. And you need to be on some level careful with who you choose, because people you attract, they may have like anger issues, or they may struggle how to express frustration and anger. And so maybe even for you, doing like martial arts and exploring your masculine side, and when you are in a relationship with this person, going to take some kind of self-defense classes together, so you both express the energy of Mars in a healthy way. And if you want to book a reading to talk about this in more depth, we can definitely discuss it in more detail. But yeah, I think you can absolutely get married again, but I think there are some sort of serious karmic lessons that require you to work on yourself presently. And Jupiter in Cancer can bring somebody new your way, but you got to make sure that you're like, you're kind of working on yourself. You're saying you are right. I attract people with anger issues. Yeah, it's the ruler of the seventh house being Mars in Cancer. But again, do you express your anger? Are you aware of your own frustration? How do you handle when you're upset? Do you express it right away, or do you let it build up? And that's why, again, I sort of create magical creations, and I would recommend my Mars Kazemi for you. I think could be like a really good oil to apply on your skin, or candle to light up, in order to connect with that fiery energy, but also doing martial arts and other rituals that we can discuss more during a personal reading if you'd like one. But even those things I mentioned should be good. So, Anzena, I hope that was helpful. Christie, are you here? And then Irene. Christie, she said, I'm here. Okay, Christie, send me her information, I think, right? Yes, there you are. You're welcome, Anzena. Thank you for saying that I'm amazing. I like hearing that. Christie, I don't think you sent me the place or the time. You did send me the date and your big three, but it would be helpful if you just want to put it in the chat. That would be good. Okay. And Anzena, I am happy that you found it helpful. Okay. Let me see, Christie. Yeah, I can probably. Okay, Oklahoma City. Thank you. Because I can like pick a random location for you and try to match it to what you said your chart looks like. But it is more helpful if you tell me. 5:19 p.m. Okay, the question is about career. I'm trying to make a decision about if I should stay at my job that is really a mess right now and try to schedule around work, which hasn't been going well, or if I should take a leave from work and work on my health. I've had health issues in the past few years. Virgo Sun, Virgo Moon, Capricorn Rising, Virgo Mercury. That's a nice Mercury to have. Okay, Christie. I'm going to pull up your chart and I'm going to put the transits over it to see what the transits are telling us. And actually, let's animate it so we can move it around. And Irene, I'm almost up to you, so stick around with us. Don't go anywhere yet. Okay, Christie. So the question is connected to work. Let me see. So you have Venus, Pluto, and Uranus in the house of public life. The ruler of your house of career is Mars in Taurus. So okay. So the ruler of the house, the ruler of the midheaven rather, which is the professional angle, is Mars in its detriment, which can bring generally potentially some difficulties when it comes to professional matters. So again, I would recommend martial rituals, which include lifting weights, um, going to do martial arts. Mars Kazemi candle or exalted Mars could be really good for you because it's like activating probably exalted Mars over Mars Kazemi, because exalted Mars is Mars in Capricorn. It's your rising sign. It's going to trine your Virgo stellium and your Mars in Taurus, and it can help you be assertive and strategic when it comes to work. So why are things more complicated right now? So I think maybe Neptune. So Neptune is in Aries. Saturn is about to enter Aries. And they're going to square your natal Saturn. So you're about to come into your Saturn square. Christy, do you remember what was happening in your life last time Saturn was in Aries? What was specifically happening in like the home family sector back in 96, 97, 98? So you would have been 23, 24, 25 around that time. The ruler of your house of health is Mercury, but what's happening now is we're kind of going through this south node in Pisces, south node in Virgo, north node in Pisces. And the energy here may be to do less and to kind of go into the Piscean realm of resting, sleeping, recuperating. And so I asked you about 94 and 95. No, wait. 96, 97, 98. And then I'm also curious what was happening in your life the last time the nodes were in the same place. And, if you can't immediately jump to it, if you can't remember, that's okay. But you can think about it like in your free time, because Saturn square can definitely bring some kind of like maybe a need to rethink structures in your life, and maybe a need to like review your boundaries. And then I would also ask you what was happening in your life in 2007, 8, because that would have been the repeat of the nodal cycle. So this is 2007, maybe potentially similar energy to like needing to slow down. You're saying we are downsizing and may close. I had twin daughters and was having marital issues, separated from my husband in 99, 2000. So this is you speaking up on 96, 7, 8, right? Downsizing, may close. Just had twin daughters and was having marital issues. Yeah, Saturn brings like sort of strong focus on your home, family, comfort, and security. And it puts pressures on the relationships. And relationships could be marriage, or they could be the other kinds of relationships. They could be like professional partnerships and relationships. And yeah, and like, do you remember 2007, 2008? Was there any sort of sense of like needing to maybe slow down? Your job is downsizing. Yes, this is 97, 2000. So was your job also going through a difficult time in 96, 97, 98? Or is it downsizing right now? Downsizing now. And back in the day, there were no work matters. But maybe because you were, like you're saying, you had just had twin daughters, so you weren't working, right? You were probably like the choice was more to focus on like home and family. That's why it's important to look at those previous cycles, like so 96, 97, 98, and then 2007 2008, because we are in a similar time frame and there will be similar lessons. And so to your question whether you should take a leave from work and work on your health, I think that potentially it is about you taking a leave from work and working on your health. If you can afford it, it might be the time to, especially with you having a Virgo stellium and South Node being currently in Virgo. South Node is about cleansing and emptying and release and shedding. And so Virgo is very much about, hard work and attention to details and maybe some workaholic tendencies, perfectionist tendencies. You're saying I also was having behavioral issues with my children in 2007, 2008. Did you have to make any changes when you were having behavioral issues with your children? Like, were there any, again, maybe like a need to do things differently and to let go of something and embrace something else? Because right now you kind of have this, you almost have this invitation to like step away from like academia or, traditional beliefs or traditional ways of doing things, and maybe like let go of the need for things to be perfect and go into the realm of like tending to your body, to your health, everyday life. This could also be about writing, this could be about business, this could be about like doing things that are maybe more kind of pleasure and fun. So I think, I think the answer is I would suggest that if you can afford to take a break from work and focus on your health, it could be a good time. And those things like, the situation, so like if you want to, if you want to discuss it in a personal reading, I would recommend doing that because we can sort of dive into it more and try to figure out which patterns are repeating. But even as a homework for you, you Virgo, you Virgo triple person with Sun, Moon, and Mercury, just reflect back on like, so that period 96, 97, 98, what have you learned? And how can you approach sort of similar pressures right now? And maybe, maybe it's going to be something connected to your children again. And then again, look at 2007, 2008. But like to answer that question, um, I feel like you are in a period of like releasing something and like focusing on resting and peace and sleeping and reading books and maybe like letting go of. I mean, you're born with North Node in Capricorn, so you're kind of meant to tap into your hardworking energy, but the universe right now is a little bit more focused on like chill energy. So that's my thinking to answer your question. And I hope that answers and helps it on some level. And do some like sort of. Oh, actually, one other thing I just want to look at for you, and then Irene, I'll look at you. So you were born in 73, that makes you 51, right? 51, 48, 49, 50, 51. Mars is the ruler. Mars. Okay, so 51 is the year ruled by Mars. Mars is in its detriment in your chart. So I would really recommend working on Mars, and Exalted Mars candle or Exalted Mars oil or both could be a really good choice. Martial arts, um, volunteering for some kind of like veterans organization, working with martial energy, working with your own warrior within you, because you have a strong Venusian energy in your chart, but Mars, your like fighter within you, it needs an outlet, and it might not be getting an outlet, and that might be why you're dealing with health issues. So take a break. Christie, if you feel like you're saying you want to have your own business, but I'm tired, give yourself a break. Which is hard. I have 3 planets in Virgo. Am I good at taking breaks? No, I'm terrible at taking breaks, but I've been reading a lot and I've been focusing on like doing yoga. And so maybe for us Virgos right now, it's like it's time to chill a little bit. Brittany's asking, says list is closed. Does that mean you're not reading for any more people? I'm not taking new people. I have one more person left to finish. And then I'll do more readings next week. I'm doing these regularly every Monday these days. So if you'd like to join, you can come next Monday. Okay, Irene, are you still here? Did you wait? Okay, and let me see, Irene, I don't know if you sent me the question. Where would I find your question? You're welcome, Christie. I'm glad it's been helpful. Yeah, Brittany, I'm not taking any new people right now, but next week, if you wanted to, you can even send the donation now because these are donation-based readings. Oh, Irene is here. Okay, awesome. And then I'll put you on my list, but the list is done for today because I am aiming to wrap this up at a reasonable hour because then you gotta take care of dinner and stuff, even though my boyfriend cooks dinner, but I like to watch and be very cheery, like, yay. Irene, could you copy paste it? You're saying you put the question in the comments above. It's just, it like ends up scrolling and scrolling and scrolling and oh, wait, is this it? Also, I have been on a journey to become a healer, which has come to a bit of a standstill. I was wondering if you can talk about that. Is that it, or is there something else? I would really appreciate if you like sort of put it in for me so it's at the bottom and I don't have to go hunting for it. Because like I said, it tends to scroll up at a pretty fast pace. Oh, you're born on the 27th of July. That's one of my friends is born on July 27th. And she's born in Belarusia. Okay, and you said Tashkent. There's only one Tashkent in the world. That's fun. It's not letting you copy paste. Okay, let me see if I can scroll up like a little bit and see if I can find it, but there's just so much. Could you sum it up for me and then just like maybe add to it? Just sort of start with it being. I am still looking through the comments, but I'm not seeing. I am not seeing it yet. It's in the same comment where I put the city. So is it about, okay, so I do see this one. I have been on a journey to become a healer, which has come to a bit of a standstill. I was wondering if you could talk about that. That's the question, right? Look at that Leo stellium talking about being a healer in the 6th house. Like, yeah, I feel like what other options are there? Okay, let me share my screen. You're like, yep. Yeah, it's like everything is in the 6th. Have you always been interested in like health and healing and eating well? Oh, and like Mars and Virgo too. It's for sure all of this is I think a powerhouse of health focus. Okay. So your chart ruler is Jupiter in Taurus. It's in the 3rd house. So it does suggest that being somebody who has her own business, somebody who is in the realm of empowering other people, I think is very much recommended. And yeah, the ruler in the house of business makes a lot of sense. And then it's just like how can you not like see this and be like this person is meant to be in a healing business, right? The sun is really nice in the 6th house. The sun it can get stuck taking care of like too many details. Were your parents doctors? Like, did you have, because it's like sun and moon both in the sixth house? What did your parents do? I wonder. It like reads as like they were a team and a unit, and the mother who probably really much like really followed the father, or like the father who was maybe like and like both of them really good at potentially like providing necessary things for you and like showing up for you, but maybe not like the most emotional people in the world. My kids call me an almond mom. What does that mean? You're saying, oh, an almond mom because you feed them like almond milk and stuff. You're saying you worked in healthcare all your life, and then you say no. Is no to what your parents did for a living? Maybe they were in some kind of like managerial, blue collar, like a lot of details type of work. You're saying all true. Um, I mean, you don't have to share what your parents did, but I wonder. So why would things come to a standstill? Engineer and a hairdresser. Okay. Yeah, that's like a sixth house. Hairdresser is sort of funny with Leo placements because Leo rules the main. And sixth house would be like this kind of house of problem solving, right? So like the mother um who like very like Leo moon represents the mother, goes there and like solves people problems when it comes to hair. Okay, so where you are, the ruler, so the ruler of your house of career is also this Jupiter in the house of business and writing and like public speech. And then we have Saturn conjunct the sun. Saturn in Leo it is Saturn in its detriment and it's conjunct the sun. So it maybe sometimes creates like an issue with you being, I think people with Saturn and Leo have really strong morals and strong values and strong principles, but not everybody else does. Like 11th house represents your allies and your friends. And so I would be careful, like partnering up with other people, just like be really, make sure that you sort of vet them because the house of friendships is a little bit complicated in your chart. And so the North Node, Saturn. So maybe the standstill is connected to Saturn on your ascendant, because Saturn has been crossing your ascendant within the last couple of months, and it's about to leave. It's about to go into your second house, which can suggest that the finances are getting. So Saturn will make you be really serious about the resources you have and how you spend them and and I mean like your Leo stellium like reads as very generous, right? And like, I am the beneficiary of your generosity with the donation you send me, which I'm really grateful for. But it seems like with Saturn going into your second house, and again, similar question, right? Like what was 96, 97, 98 likes for you? You would have been 20, 21, 22. Were there any, maybe just the sense that you don't have as much money or as much freedom to spend? Saturn is not going to necessarily, like Saturn coming into the second house of money doesn't mean it's going to take your money, but it does suggest that there will be some kind of a need to be like serious and self-reliant and maybe more responsible. When I had Saturn in my second house, I was kind of denied a raise by a very sort of frustrating authority figure. And so I had to wait and I had to be patient. And so I wonder if there is a suggestion that you may need to be patient. Both money and freedom was limited back in 96, 97, 98. So, okay, so there might be like a need to kind of navigate around that. The good news is Jupiter is going into Cancer and then it's going into Leo, right? So you almost have the next 2 years that look quite beneficial for your business and maybe even for your health and maybe even the year after next. So right now it's about to go. Another thing, okay, sorry, I'm jumping around a little bit. Gemini moon. But so Jupiter, which is your chart ruler, has been in the sign of its detriment. It has been sitting in your fourth house of home, family, living situation. So maybe there were some adjustments there, some opportunities to expand your home, make amends with family. But it is in Gemini, it is in its detriment. So the good news, it's almost done, right? June 9th, it's going into the sign of its exaltation. And the last time we had Jupiter in Cancer would have been from June 2013 into June 2014. What was that like for you? And let's extend it, let's say from June 2013 into June 2015, because Jupiter in Cancer is exalted. It's going to be kind of bringing more support. And I think it can suggest that your interests and your pleasures and your desires will start to kind of open up a little bit more. And there may be going to be more time for fun while you're navigating this some kind of financial restriction, because especially in June, immediately Jupiter comes here on June 9th. It squares Neptune and Saturn. So pay attention to what happens in mid-June, because I think it will like very clearly show you how your desire for growth will have to contend with the seriousness of Saturn. You had health issues in 2013, 2014, and even 2015. Could it be that those health issues like encouraged you to be more focused on being a healer? So got to keep in mind that back in 2013, we've had other transits, right? If we look at 2013, Saturn was in Scorpio and it was squaring all of your Leo planets. So it's not going to be the same because we don't have Saturn in Scorpio right now. Saturn is an Aries and it's actually trining your sixth house. So that's a positive development. I think so. Okay, so the way it looks to me, I think right now, 2025, you're getting excited about something, but because Saturn is in the second house of finances, you have to be discerning about what is it that you're doing with your money. Doesn't mean you have less money, just means that you potentially have like a different purpose or different values. Saturn kind of calls you to be serious about it. Also work was hard too. So that's 2013, 2014. Yeah, like it wouldn't be exactly the same because of Saturn. And like I said, Saturn and Scorpio in 2013 and 14 maybe was overpowering because it was squaring all of your Leo planets. And you have 5 planets in Leo. So when Saturn squares it, you're like in a 2.5-year long period of pressures and intensity and struggles. We're not in the same place right now. Things are better now. But so it looks to me like this coming year, you're kind of figuring things out and you're maybe dealing with some kind of restrictions. And then on June 30th, 2026, Jupiter enters Leo, which is your house of health, your house of work. And it suggests that your ability to reach people, I think, increases, your workload increases, and your ability to become a healer increases. So this year now is maybe a good time to get your finances in order and kind of get yourself organized and maybe pay off some debts if you have, or, figure out what you're going to spend on building your business. And then next year is when things start to look sort of significantly more exciting. Because look at that. This is July 2026. Jupiter is conjoining your sun, and then it goes to conjoin your Saturn, and then it goes to conjoin your moon and your Venus and your Mercury. So there is some very positive energy, and this Jupiter will actually be trining Saturn. So this could also read as you're starting a business, but the resources are going to start coming in from July 2026. So I hope this helps. I wish you good luck. Don't give up on your desire to be a healer. I think your chart looks like you are must do it, and even your North Node Uranus conjunction, it's like you're meant to do things in a unique way, and you're almost meant to be like this person that revolutionizes things or like opens people's minds on something. So, thank you everyone again for participating. Thank you for watching. Пожалуйста, Ира, очень рада, что it resonates. So yeah, it was a pleasure chatting with you, and enjoy the rest of your day. Come join me next week for another live stream, and I'll talk to you soon in one of my other videos. Пожалуйста. Okay, bye guys.